Welcome to Deco Guide, the only app designed to help you navigate your college and career journey in the quickest and most affordable way. This podcast is brought to you by EdTechquity, dedicated to opening doors to higher education and career opportunities for all.
Hey y'all, welcome to our What Would You Do series, where I get to ask professionals unscripted questions about what they would do to overcome obstacles in college and beyond. Today we have Professor G to ask a series of questions. So what would you do if you're just a little too shy to talk to your professors or counselors, but you need help?
Shy student. So I wasn't one of those, right? Now, I wasn't shy, but I refused to ask questions. You know, that's bad, right? It is. I could ask questions. I just refused to ask them. And, you know, whenever I was in school, now I ask lots of questions. No matter where I'm at, it's asking questions, because asking questions saves me a ton of time. Right. If I don't ask the questions, I'm just burning time, because there's still information I don't know that I could find out quickly. But now I got to go find it out on my own, or pay the consequence of not finding out on my own. And then there's consequences to that. Right. So first things first is always have a general question that you could ask. OK, my fear of asking questions came because I didn't know the people. I didn't know the professors. I didn't know the counselors. You know, I didn't know them, and I didn't want them prying into my life. I was a very kind of private student who just stood in the back, kind of looked mean, and everybody left me alone, that kind of thing, right? That works in the barrio, but it doesn't work in college, right? In college, you have to participate. So I've had to learn, right, over the years, how to ask questions, even if I know the answer. Even if I know the answer, I'm going to ask the question. And the reason I'm asking questions is because I've learned over the years that I may get an answer from that person that I never would have thought of, right? If the more people I ask, the different philosophies and thought process that everyone has might give me a better answer than what I thought I had, right? There's not just one universal answer to a problem. There's multiple answers to the problem. And if you're not asking people questions, how are you supposed to know? You're not. And so here's the first thing. Understand that the fear of asking questions often comes from us not knowing the individuals, right? So what's the first order of business? Let's get to know this individual, right? Let's get to know this person who I'm supposed to ask questions of, because that's going to make it easier for me to ask questions later. So when I would walk into a counselor's office, like, you know, finally I said, okay, I'm totally lost. I need to ask someone some questions. And everyone says, go see a counselor. There's the first thing, right? Is I got to go make an appointment. The appointment, you know, it's not right away. It's usually a few weeks away. So make sure you make your appointments often and early. And once I got in to see a counselor, you know, I looked around that counselor's office, and I'm checking out the different decorations. I'm checking out what they're working on. I'm checking out whatever, right? And if I can gravitate and ask a question about something, that's going to start to break the ice. It's going to start to make me feel more comfortable. It's going to start to make that counselor feel more comfortable, etc. So if you walk into my office, right, I have a bunch of stuff on the walls and on my doors. Why? Because I know you'll ask something about something. And I try to give you ideas of, like, you know, who I am, what I am, for you to break the ice. And so one of the big things I have in my office door is a huge Raider shield. Just a big one, right? Because everyone kind of knows, like, even if you're not a Raider fan, you know that those are the Raiders, right? And so I can't tell you how many, every day, at least 5 students that I see that are new, that have never met me before. The first thing they'll ask, oh, you're a Raider fan, huh? It breaks the ice. That little thing gives them the opportunity to ask me something that they are kind of familiar with. They know the shield, and then I'll come up with something like, you know, I'm trying to love them still, right? They left Oakland, now they're in Bay, and we'll have a mini conversation about, now it's too expensive for me to go, you know, la 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 la, and you know, I wish they were back here where I was only an hour and a half away from them. I would go to every game. We just had an informal kind of bullshit question, you know, talking, and everyone feels now more united. Now we dive deep, and then I start asking them questions. They start asking me questions about, you know, all the other different things. And what happens? Within minutes, we're now much tighter than we are. And now the student starts to really open up. right? They'll open up about trauma that's happening at home. They'll open up about, them considering different majors and different careers that they never would have told anyone else. Now they'll break down and say, hey, look, Professor G, I'm struggling with this thing in my life, right? Whether it be their personal life, whether it be an academic problem, whether it be a professor, right? That's at the college that they don't know who to talk to because they think that professor is like untouchable. I'm like, nah, dude, come on. Tell me what's going on. Let me help you fix that problem. And so when you're asking the questions, you really put limits on you. So again, my best tip for you is ask that professional, that professor, that counselor, that person you're about, that other student, right? That other student that you want to ask a question of, right? A presenter, it doesn't matter. Ask them something about their personal life first, right? That will break the ice immediately, and then you'll be able to feel those questions really come out of you, and then you won't be able to shut up. Right. So make sure that you do that. And also another tip for those students who are really cautious and shy about asking questions is you need to write things down. Just write them down. Pull out your phone on your notes, questions for a counselor, right? Write 5 or 6 of them down. That way, when you come into an office or when you're going to meet your professor during their office hour, you meet a counselor during your appointment, you already have 5 or 6 questions that you've racked up over the last month and a half about things that you didn't understand. And even if that question was in the past, that's okay. We're there to answer them. So students who show up with, like, say, a notes on their phone, right, and are asking me questions, I already know these people are well prepared. They've written down every question that they've had for the last 2 or 3 months, and they have an opportunity now to meet with me individually, and I'm able to answer, boom, boom, every question that they have. And now there's less and less fear of that individual asking me anything. Those are my best tips for you.
Thank you, Professor G. That was great.
Thank you for tuning into Techo Guide, the app focused on bringing you tools and content to help you make better decisions about school, life, and career. We hope this episode has inspired you to pursue and excel in your own educational and career journey. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and share.